Question number 9. Soon as I see a right angle triangle and any lengths and angles mentioned, I need to be thinking about trigonometry. That gives me that this must be the hypotenuse over here. As this is the angle mentioned over there, we obviously have the opposite side, and here will be the adjacent. We know O and we know H, so we are going to use the sine ratio. So sine x is equal to opposite divided by hypotenuse. Sine x is equal to, in this case, 5.8 divided by 8.6. So sine of x will be equal to 5.8 divided by 8.6, which is 0.67, and that number goes on a lot further into many more decimal places. The key here is to not delete this display from your calculator. A few dots here is absolutely fine. We are then going to use the sine to the -1 function on our calculator by just pressing, with the number already displayed, we are just going to press shift and the sine key and equals, and that will tell us that the angle is 42.41 degrees. Only round at the very last step. Part B. Calculate the length of the side marked y. Again, we have a right angle triangle, so we're thinking trigonometry or Pythagoras' theorem. There are no angles mentioned in this case, so we are going to go for Pythagoras' theorem, which tells us the hypotenuse squared is equal to the shorter side squared and added together. So y squared will be equal to the following numbers added together. And then if I want to find out what just y will be, I will obviously square root this answer. So y will be the square root of 144. So y will be 12 centimeters. Part C. Calculate the length of the side marked Z. Again, we're in a right angle triangle. This time an angle is mentioned, so we're thinking probably trigonometry. So again, opposite the right angle is H. The one with the angle and the right angle on it is O, and opposite to the angle is A. Apologies, wrong way round. Adjacent is the one with the angle and the right angle. So in this case we have A and H, which from SOHCAHTOA tells us we are going to be looking at cos of x equal to adjacent divided by hypotenuse. So this is cos of 24 equal to 7.4 divided by x. We want x on its own, so we are going to take x up to multiply, and we'll bring cos down at the same time. So we have x equals 7.4 divided by cos 24. So x equals 8.1 centimeters. Can half check our answer here, because as Z is the hypotenuse, then this will obviously be bigger than the side we already know about. Question 10, probability tree diagram. Whenever Beth plays a game of Hula against Zainab, the probability that which she wins is 1/3. Beth plays 2 games, complete the tree diagram. So Beth losing is 2/3. They are playing a second game, so we need to add a new branch. This will still be Beth winning or Beth losing, winning and losing. And whenever they play, these are the probabilities. So irrelevant of whether she won the first game or not, she still has the 1 in 3 chance of winning the second game. Now, you don't have to, but it is better to, at the end of your probability tree diagram, just list all the possible outcomes. She could win, then win. She could win, then lose. She could lose, then win, or she could lose and lose. And I would suggest that you work out the probabilities that go with it. As we move across branches, we multiply. So we say 1/3 times 1/3. So the probability that she wins and she wins again is 1/9. 1/3 times 2/3 will give us 2/9 for a win-loss. 2/3 times 1/3 will give us 2/9 for a lose-win. And 2/3 times 2/3 will give us 4/9 for a lose-lose. Calculate the probability that Beth wins both games. As we filled in this on the end, we already know that that's the probability she wins the first, which is 1/3, times by the probability she wins the second, which is 1/9, as we'd already written up here. Question 11. You are given that y is inversely proportional to x squared. So y is inversely proportional, which means 1 over proportional to x squared. Now, we want an expression, which means we need to get rid of the proportion sign and turn it into an equals. So, to do so, we have k divided by x squared, where k is a constant we need to find. Using the fact that when y is 200, x is 2, we can say that 100 is equal to k divided by 2 squared. take the 2 squared up and multiply, and we find that 400 is equal to k. We can now replace k in our formula, and we have the expression y equals 400 divided by x squared. Use the expression you found in A to complete the following table. So if x is 10, our formula tells us y equals 400 divided by 10 squared. So y equals 400 divided by 100. So y equals 4. So when x is 10, y is 4. Go in the other direction, we are told that a quarter is equal to 400 divided by x squared. We need the x squared on the top, so I'm going to swap these around. So we will get x squared equals 400 divided by a quarter. Use the calculator to work out 400 divided by a quarter, so we get 400 divided by a quarter. So x squared is 1600, and then we are going to square root that to find out what x is. So the square root of 1600 is 40, so x is 40. Part B. Use the quadratic formula to solve the equation 5x squared plus 20x minus 4. The quadratic formula is given to you on the front page of the exam. X equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. A is the number in front of the x squared, b is the number in front of the x, and c is the number on the end. Bear in mind that this is minus 4, not plus 4. So x is equal to minus 20 plus or minus the square root of 20 squared minus 4 times 5 times minus 4, all divided by 2 times 5. So x is equal to minus 20 plus or minus the square root of 20 squared gives me 400. Now I need to be careful with this section here because I have different signs. So I'm going to say that it is 4 times 5, which is 20 times by minus 4, which gives me minus 80. But remember, I'm subtracting that minus 80, which will give me a plus 80, and it is divided by 10. At this point, I'm going to split my plus and minus, which gives me the two options. Either x equals minus 20 plus the square root of 480 divided by 10, or x equals minus 20, subtract the square root of 480, all divided by 10 still. So I will get two solutions to this. So I get minus 20 plus the square root of 480 divided by 10, which is 0.19, or I get minus 20 subtract the square root of 480 divided by 10, which is minus 4.19. And they are my two solutions. Question 12 vectors we won't do, however question 13 we do need to do. So as soon as I see a triangle without a right angle and I'm looking at angles and sides, I need to be thinking about the sine or cosine rule. For the sine rule I require two opposite pairs, and for the cosine rule, if I'm looking for an angle, I will need 3 sides. I don't have all 3 sides, so I'm thinking sine rule before cosine rule. This notation means here I want the angle A. So I want to go from C to A to B, from C to A to B, and it is this angle here, which I'm going to notate as x. I now have the two opposite pairs I require for the sine rule. So the sine rule in this case tells me sine x divided by 10.6 is equal to the sine of 61 divided by 11.7. Remember, with the sine rule, if I'm looking for an angle, I put the angles on the top. If I was looking for a side, I would flip both of these fractions and I would have the sides on top. Now to find sine x, I'm capable and able to just take this 10.6 up and multiply, divided by 11.7. I can type all of that into my calculator. Be careful with calculators. If a bracket appears after you press sine, make sure you close that bracket before times by the 10.6. That tells me that sine x is equal to 0.79 ... As we did earlier, do not delete that from your screen. Just shift and sine to the -1 to give you the angle 42.1 degrees.